Good evening. I told you this morning that this would be an abbreviated service, so wish me luck. I do have a few things that I want to share with the congregation. The arrangements for Bernice Tanner, we spoke to the funeral home, and I spoke to her son David a little bit this morning, and I'll be speaking with him again. But the arrangements as we know it right now will be this Wednesday. They'll have a visitation here for Bernice at 11 o'clock. At 12 o'clock, they'll have services, and then they will proceed to her burial. To my knowledge, the family has not asked for any food or any meals, but we certainly want to keep them in our prayers, and we will send out a phone tree probably tomorrow, letting others know who aren't here this evening who will want to be part of that service on Wednesday. Also, to let you know that, as we've mentioned and talked about, one of the sections this year for our education, for our evening, will be the story. The books are in. We will be starting that in a couple of weeks. If you signed up, Pete has put your name on a book out there, so look for that. We do have some extras, and so be sure to pick that up. They're out here on the table. Also, this evening, our Bible Bowl students will be showcased. This is not yet the last plea for adults. If you want to just read 2 Samuel while I give you a little story up here, go ahead. Don't be bothered by all the names and all the events. We just need living, breathing bodies up there and look like we know what we're doing. So, but this is a good opportunity. This congregation has always supported Bible Bowl. Our kids have always done well, and we're really excited for them, and they'll be gone next week. There'll be a lot of us gone next week, so keep us in your prayers. I want to talk to you about, I want to share with you an interesting series of phone calls I had this week. Tuesday, as I left out, I was a little bit bummed. I have some work-related things that are going on that has me a little bit uncomfortable. They're challenges, to say the least. And as I drove out on Tuesday, I headed down toward Winston-Salem, North Carolina, for a meeting that afternoon. And as I'm driving along and I'm thinking about different challenges, you know, that windshield time and you can solve the world's problems, I get a phone call from a longtime friend of mine. This is a fellow gypsy. We travel similar trade shows. He has a particular product that complements mine. Our distribution network is fairly much the same. I've known Craig and his wife Cindy for quite a long time. He called me. We happened to be at a trade show the weekend before in Virginia Beach. And I saw him from a distance as he passed. I didn't stop him as I normally do. We hug, we greet each other. His wife had traveled with him at different shows, and as I say, I know Cindy, Craig and Cindy very well. But I get a phone call from Craig, and he says, Mark, I want you to know this. He said, Cindy's health has not been doing very well, and it's been falling fast. And he said that at this particular trade show in Virginia Beach, he has several cameras around the house, security cameras, so that when he's gone, he can watch her. And he was traveling from Virginia Beach home, which is about a 2-hour drive each day during this convention. And he happened to be watching on his phone and noticed that Cindy fell. She fell on her back and then later hit her head. He called the ambulance squad and they rushed her to the hospital, but he called me to ask me to pray for her, that she had gone into an unconscious type state. He was very concerned. The family didn't know if she was going to survive it. But he said, Mark, I've known you for a long time. And he says, I know you're a man of faith. And he says, I would just really appreciate your prayers. I said, Craig, I love you like a brother. I'll be sure to do that. I'm touched by that phone call, even uplifted by it, that someone would think that of me and call me randomly. But the next phone call is what really caught me. Another phone call was from a potential customer outside of Columbus, Ohio. I met him one time a little over a year ago. He is a firefighter instructor for the state of Ohio. And I measured him for some some firefighters' clothing. It was a brief conversation, to say the least. I did my professional work. We touched base. I measured. I wrote down. I've got the order. And we move on. He's now with another fire department. He's writing a grant for some funds and wants to use the clothing that I am building for him as an instructor for the state of Ohio. I said, I'll be happy to do it. I'm anxious to do it. I'm traveling. And I said, it'll be a couple of days. I said, but as soon as I get to, and I want you to know that the previous phone call was on my mind, and also add that on occasion I can twist a word by accident. And so what I said to this fire chief was that as soon as I get to the hospital tonight, I'll send you those specifications. And I said, I am so sorry. I meant to say hotel. As soon as I get to the hotel, I said, I just had a phone call, a friend of mine, taking his wife to the hospital. He paused. And he said, Mark, he says, if you don't mind, and this is what's caught me. God gives you these moments. He says, Mark, if you don't mind, we're on the telephone. I'm driving down State Route 35 on my way to Charleston, West Virginia. Mark, if you don't mind, I'd like to offer a prayer for you and for your friend. Guys, this is on a telephone. This is a telephone call while I'm driving. And I said, well, that is awful nice of you. I think his name is Ken. He offered a prayer for what little I shared with him about Craig's situation. And he offered the most beautiful prayer. To me, a stranger, we've only met long enough to measure him, a handful of measurements. And he prayed a prayer over my friend who he does not know, for Craig and for Cindy and for the travels. And in his prayer, he said, Lord, this prayer is not about selling firefighters' clothes. It's not about business opportunities. It's about your will being done in the lives of others. The boldness of his prayer struck me. His prayer was a prayer, and I shared this with Lisa. His prayer was a prayer that I would pray for any one of you in the same situation. And the boldness that he was willing to have on that telephone call with me, aside from business, not knowing me, not knowing my friends Craig and Cindy, touched me. And it touched me in a way that reminded me of our boldness in faith. We can have faith. We can have the knowledge of the Bible. And tonight you'll see a level of knowledge of 2 Samuel and all the names and all the cities and all the sons and all the daughters that some of us will be going like this while the rest of them blab it out. You can have the faith and the knowledge, but where does boldness come in? Where does our boldness come in? There are times when I wonder how many opportunities I have missed to stand boldly and to say, Gary, I'd like to pray for you. I don't know you. I don't know what your world is, but I want to offer a prayer at this very moment for you. I was touched. I'm anxious to meet this guy. I'm anxious to do some business with him. But we have developed a friendship that is now strong, not because of the products that I represent, not because of my friend with Craig and Cindy, but because of our faith and our boldness in the Lord. I wonder how many times we miss those opportunities of boldness. I found this and I want to add it. Boldness, in the biblical sense, is not a personality trait. A typically soft-spoken, introverted, calm person can be bold at a time when a typically driven, outspoken, brash person shrinks back. Boldness is acting by the power of the Holy Spirit on an urgent conviction in the face of some threat. That last sentence contains the three ingredients to Christian boldness: Spirit-empowered conviction, courage, and urgency. As we lead the congregation this year as a study through the Bible, and in our daily reading and Houston sermons, and now we're going to do this concise version of the story, it's our intent to drive not only your conviction of faith, but your boldness to teach it, your boldness to preach it. Your boldness to have that random phone call that says, let's stop what we're doing right now. I want to offer a prayer for you. Guys, I don't know about you, but I was touched by that. It changed my whole day. Suddenly, my workload was petty. Suddenly, I was focused on God's will in our lives on a phone call, and yeah, I was driving 80 miles. Oh, no, it wasn't 80. It wasn't that fast. But the boldness touched me, and I couldn't wait to share that with you. I'm going to close with just two little scriptures, and these are from Paul. I want to look at Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 19 and 20. He writes, "Pray also for me, that whenever I open my mouth, words may be given me so that I will fearlessly make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in chains. Pray that I may declare it fearlessly as I should." In Philippians chapter 1 and verse 14, we get a similar thought. Starting with verse 13, "As a result, it has become clear throughout the whole palace guard and to everyone else that I am in chains for Christ. Because of my chains, most of the brothers in the Lord have been encouraged to speak the word, to have a boldness of God more courageously and more fearlessly." It is because of that phone call with this stranger for people he doesn't know that gave me encouragement this week to be bolder. To be bolder and to be stronger and to want to share the gospel with others. And I wanted to share that with you this evening. We're an open congregation. We're blessed in so many ways. We're a prayerful congregation. We meet the needs of each other whenever possible. And we find the opportunities such as this, that if you're in need of prayer or concerns or anything that we can do for you to help you in your spiritual walk, we make that opportunity available now and is 24/7. But we make that available now and offer you to come as we stand and as we sing. James?